What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Hollywood operates in weird ways. Sometimes a movie is finished months in advance and sits on a hard drive somewhere awaiting release. Sometimes a movie is completed at 0 hour and shipped off to a theater the next day. No two movies have the same production, but when a movie gets last-minute reshoots, we see a trend that's never good. There's a rumor, and I stress a rumor, floating around that Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is heading back for reshoots. Now yes, reshoots are a normal part of the filmmaking process, but in terms of the recent batch of Star Wars films, late in the game's reshoots usually spell disaster. We Got This Covered has an article discussing the possible rumor that Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is set for major reshoots, and things aren't looking good. We've only got a few months to go before Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, the 9th installment in the main saga of the long-running franchise, brings the story that George Lucas started with A New Hope in 1977 to its conclusion. And while the recently released trailer definitely heightened the buzz and sense of expectation surrounding the movie, it looks like behind-the-scenes things aren't going so smoothly. Of course, Star Wars has one of the most passionate fan bases out of any media franchise, and they certainly aren't afraid to make their opinions known, especially when it comes to the Disney era. After all, The Force Awakens was criticized from certain quarters, failing to bring anything new to the table, and The Last Jedi ended up as the most divisive Star Wars movie yet after making some very controversial changes to the established mythology. Now, it's sounding like The Rise of Skywalker is struggling to find a comfortable middle ground, as apparently it's set to undergo some major reshoots. Of course, reshoots are pretty common for any blockbuster nowadays, but according to the entertainment journalist Art Tavanna, Disney should be reshooting entire scenes, and apparently things aren't looking good right now for the pick. I'm being told that Disney is reshooting scenes for Star Wars. Don't quote me. Things aren't looking good. Too many variables and audiences to please. George Lucas as a creative consultant seems like a very likely occurrence, though there's no telling how much say he'll have. Given that the film will see the return of quite a few original trilogy stars, including Mark Hamill as Luke, Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian, and Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor, it's not hard to see how things might be getting a bit messy. Throw in the fact that Leia Organa will appear via unused footage of Carrie Fisher, and it's understandable that Abrams might be struggling to piece everything together. Of course, there's all the sequel trilogy regulars to account for as well, meaning that Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker will have a lot of character arcs to tie up and a lot of different types of fans to please. Let's just hope it's able to conclude the saga properly when it hits theaters this December. Now you're probably saying to yourself, I don't believe this. This is fake. Well, this rumor is about as credible as the Reddit plot leaks that the fandom was poring over last week. And unlike those Reddit leaks, we know the person who's bringing these rumors to light. Meet Art Tavanna, verified Twitter checkmark and professional writer. You may have never heard of him, and to be honest, until I read this article, neither had I. But upon a little research, thanks to our friend Google, I was able to get a list of Art Tavanna's credentials. Instead of me trying to sell you on his accomplishments, let's hear about Art from himself. I'm a writer and culture critic based in Los Angeles, and a former columnist at LA Weekly and Playboy. My byline has appeared in Vice, The American Conservative, Spin, USA Today Pop Candy, The Spectator, Billboard, Paste, National Review, Arc Digital, Penthouse, The Weekly Standard, Village Voice, OC Weekly, The AV Club, The Washington Examiner, Consequence of Sound, MTV News, Pitchfork et al. In 2017, I won an LA Press Club Award for my work at LA Weekly. Since then, I've been asked to appear on radio programs and podcasts such as the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, author of American Psycho and Less Than Zero, BBC Radio 5 Live, and KFI AM 640 to provide commentary on politics and pop culture. In the spring of 2019, my writing and Twitter were discussed in a chapter of Bret Easton Ellis's first nonfiction book, White. Prior to my work as a journalist, I was a media consultant and marketing executive at leading entertainment PR firms and film studios. Between 2008 and 2014, I helped produce marketing copy and media strategies for corporate brands such as Nintendo and Netflix, classic and cult films at Warner Brothers, and several local and statewide political campaigns in California. I have over half a decade of media relations experience in the area of politics and culture. I am currently authoring a cultural history of Guns N' Roses for ECW Press. If you ask me, Art Tavanna seems pretty qualified. He's worked for major publications, won awards, and more than likely has insider connections. Hell, I have insider connections, so Art Tavanna having them isn't that big of a stretch. If he's lying, it seems impractical and counterintuitive to his credibility. But sources can be wrong. As I've stated, reshoots for movies are nothing new. Some of the greatest films of all time have had reshoots. But more recently, big genre films that have failed pretty damn hard are the ones with the last-minute reshoots. We'll look at a few in a moment, but for now, I'd like to take a look back at the article to discuss a few interesting points. Too many variables and audiences to please. That's the most compelling part of this entire article to me. Not the variables part, but the audiences part. Traditionally, you think of the audience as the audience, not audiences. Under Disney, Star Wars has become filmmaking by a committee, not the artistic vision of one person. Because of that, things like demographics and market research play a bigger part and become more important than what's best for the story. It's corporate filmmaking at its finest, and Disney does it better than anyone else. That's not good, by the way. I was being sarcastic. Over the last few years, we've seen how in an attempt to expand the Star Wars brand, they've turned it into something that has driven the core audience away. We've heard Kathleen Kennedy talk about how she wants more girls to like Star Wars. We've seen failed attempts at branding Star Wars for girls. More on that in another video real soon. And we've had representatives of the Star Wars brand try and tear down the fan base and build a more diverse one that looks good on Twitter. When I hear audiences, and it's the plural form, not possessive, I get concerned that we're getting more of the same market data Star Wars, not quality filmmaking. What are the audiences they're trying to appease? The social media audience? The social security audience? No matter the actual answer, the audience they're least concerned about is you, the Star Wars fan. In terms of actual reshoots, if this rumor is to be believed, I'm wondering what they'll be reshooting. Could they be removing the rumored and very stupid time travel element? Could they be structuring the story to become a more logical conclusion for a broken trilogy? Could they be trying to retcon The Last Jedi? Probably not that last one. JJ lied through his teeth to tell us Episode 8 didn't derail 9, but a fan can dream, can't we? My guess, if this is real, is to address the actual story elements because the trilogy is so uneven it's not even funny. Looking back at the article discussing the rumor, this stands out. Given that the film will see the return of quite a few original trilogy characters, including Mark Hamill as Luke, Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian, and Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor, it's not hard to see how things might be getting a bit messy. Throw in the fact that Leia Organa will appear via unused footage of Carrie Fisher, and it's understandable that Abrams might be struggling to piece everything together. That was Disney's first mistake. Back in 2015, Disney cashed in on nostalgia and a fresh batch of member berries, and it didn't heed Jack Napier's warning and think about the future. Now, we're here just a few short years later, and things seem rocky. Bringing in the original trilogy characters was great for initial business, but without a strong next generation and a massive amount of disrespect paid to the original trilogy, there's not really much you can do to inspire hope within the audience. Over the last 2 films, we've watched the best 2 heroes die in incredibly lame ways. The constant inclusion of original trilogy elements, or another batch of member berries for the layperson, is tiresome at this point. This all feels like part of a list Disney makes Lucasfilm check off. Make Rey invincible? Check. Add an original trilogy element to instill hope in the fans and dupe the uninitiated? Check. Piecing everything together will be hard for J.J. Abrams, as his entire gimmick in Hollywood is the mystery box. How he sells you an incomplete story, then spends forever avoiding questions by acting like it was all part of the plan. Speaking of plan, if this rumor is to be true, it furthers what we already knew. Lucasfilm is making this up as they go. Earlier in this video, I began to discuss genre films that received major reshoots, and the films failed pretty hard. Let's take a look at a few and look at the parallels between them and the rise of Skywalker. Possibly. Sci-fi movies ruined by reshoots. So we're not going to talk about this entire list, we're going to talk about 3 of them. First up, we're going to talk about Justice League. As you know, Justice League had reshoots, and as you know, well, the film didn't turn out too hot. We also have a large portion of the fanbase calling for the Zack Snyder cut, because the film was changed through reshoots and rewrites, and, Joss Whedon was added. Justice League was filmmaking by committee. Then we have Suicide Squad, and while this film was successful, the film was a mess. I don't see anyone clamoring for more Suicide Squad stuff unless you shop at Hot Topic regularly. And now here's the film that we wanted to talk about with major reshoots, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Disney was reportedly unhappy with the improvisational style and slow pace of the directors. They felt that the footage was unusable and went the costly decision to fire Lord Miller and have Ron Howard reshoot most of the film. Some reports say as much as 80% of the movie was filmed again. Not only did it cost the studio time, and they also had to have many actors come back and reshoot their scenes. One actor had a scheduling conflict, so they had to recast Dryden Voss with Paul Bettany. Let's not forget the marketing costs. I'm not talking about the dollars and cents, I'm talking about the actual marketing. The reshoots and drama pushed a huge amount of negative publicity at the movie, and the marketing team wasn't able to counteract it. The first trailer for Rogue One opened a long time before the movie. But the first trailer for Solo came out only 2 months before opening, probably because they didn't have finished footage thanks to last-minute reshoots. Now there's an interesting bit of information there. In terms of The Rise of Skywalker, we don't actually have a trailer for the film. In April we had a teaser trailer, and that's what Lucasfilm called it officially. That's not my interpretation of the situation, that's official. Then we have the D23 footage. That special look was 50% clips from better Star Wars films, and still not a trailer. We've been told a trailer for the film will be released in October, which will be 2 months away from release. Just like Solo. Convenient. Now we know Solo went on to bomb pretty damn hard, but it would be incredibly short-sighted to bank on the trailer release to determine the film's success. But it does bring up the question, why? Why are they waiting so long? Usually, film studios can't wait to show off scenes from their $1 billion grossers, but with The Rise of Skywalker, Disney seems to be trying to hide the film. It's almost like they're embarrassed of it or something. Are they trying to put the focus on The Mandalorian? If that's the case, they're not doing a very good job. I know the show debuts first, but it almost feels like a coincidence. Almost as if they know Disney, pronouns pal, can't win all of the different audiences, so they're just trying to rush through the conclusion of the Skywalker saga. So much for the prestige it deserves. Star Wars ends with a thud. Plus, there's no way that a 1-month push for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker will be enough after The Mandalorian debuts on Disney+. Should we trust Disney this time with The Rise of Skywalker? We were burned with The Last Jedi, burned with Solo, and now we're supposed to blindly support Episode 9 because of online pressure? As stated earlier, this is just a rumor. Nothing has been confirmed, but like the Reddit leaks, discussing the possibilities are interesting. Films like Justice League, Fan4stick, and Solo show us the dark side of late order reshoots. In Fan4stick, we get splintered story elements and a terrible Sue Storm wig. In Justice League, we get an incoherent plot and whatever they did to Superman's lip. Ugh. If The Rise of Skywalker follows suit, will we get more elements that don't gel with the rest of the movie? Will there be elements that are clearly added in as an afterthought? Darth Rey stands out as something not thought out, and it looks like it was added at the last minute. Or do we end up with a Rogue One situation? Rogue One situation? Well, let's see what the Rogue One situation was. The director of Rogue One's mythic reshoot speaks out for the first time. I have to be careful, said Rogue One co-writer Tony Gilroy. I don't know what the statute of limitations is. I've never done an interview about Rogue One. Ever. Officially, Gilroy, an Oscar-nominated writer and director, is only credited with co-writing the #1 film of 2016, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. However, almost everyone knows the truth of the situation. He wasn't just a writer. Gilroy was called in late in the process to lead an extensive set of reshoots that reshaped the entire movie. He hasn't talked about his work on the film since its release, but during an interview on the Moment with Brian Kopelman podcast, he finally offered a few details. You'll understand this better than anything else, and I know you have a lot of geeks who listen. I came in after the director's cut. I have a screenplay credit in the arbitration that's easily won. To explain, by the time a director has finished his or her first cut of a film, the screenplay should have been more or less set in stone for quite some time, especially in regards to its authorship. So to get an easily won screenplay credit at the late stage means significant changes were made. Changes that Gilroy admits he was easily able to make because he really doesn't care about Star Wars. That's my superpower, he said. I've never been interested in Star Wars, so I had no reverence for it whatsoever. I was unafraid about it. And they were in such a swamp. They were in so much terrible, terrible trouble that all you could do was improve their position. Gilroy told Kopelman he saw purity in the early version of the film that was lacking. If you look at Rogue One and all the difficulty with Rogue One, all the confusion of it, and all the mess, and in the end, you get there, it's actually very, very simple to solve, Gilroy said, because you sort of go, oh, this is a movie where folks just look. Everyone is going to die. And it's a movie about sacrifice. It's all a question about why these people are going to sacrifice themselves, and you need to motivate them with a purity throughout the way. In terms of Rogue One, the basic premise of sacrifice is easy to follow. But with The Rise of Skywalker, what's the premise? Obviously, we don't know the plot, but we do know that it's supposed to end something that's the equivalent of combining a Lego and a Lincoln log. Yes, they're both building toys, but no, they don't go together. Time will tell if these rumors are true, much like Avengers Endgame leaks. But we do know that these things happen in Hollywood, and if Solo proved anything, a Star Wars movie can fail. So that's it for today. What do you guys think about these rumors? Again, this is just a rumor. Nothing's been confirmed. But if you look into Art Tavanna, the guy has worked at some of the most reputable places, and I don't know why he would throw his credibility away just to make a Star Wars rumor pop up. But if it's wrong, it's wrong. Again, it's just a rumor. Nothing's been stated, nothing's been set in stone. But I want to know what you guys think if this rumor is true. Are you in the camp of, oh, reshoots are not a big deal, look at Rogue One, look how great that one was? Or are you in the camp of, look at reshoots, look at Justice League, look how bad things can turn out? I'm more in the Solo camp because we have the same people behind the scenes. Why are they reshooting it? What are they doing? What are they fixing? I want to know. Probably story elements, but we're only 3 months out from the film, and it seems a little late. But let's play the hypotheticals game for a moment. If this rumor is true, then we know why there's not a full trailer for the film. We see similar scenes repeated over and over again, plus the D23 look is half of original trilogy and prequel trilogy stuff to what? Play with your emotions, make you think of the originals when Star Wars was better, but at the same time, it does just create filler, which is good for Disney because it gives them time. It buys them the time to make a trailer that seems a little more epic. But 2 months out seems a little late. I don't know the exact amount of days between Avengers trailers and release, but we saw multiple trailers and each one got you more pumped, more pumped, more pumped. In many ways, Disney blew their load with the Rise of Skywalker special look and celebration because the D23 Expo doesn't share too much that gets you excited. But that's just me. Like I said, I want to know what you guys think. So in the comments below, tell me if you think that these rumors are real or if they're fake. I want to know. And if they're real, we'll come back at the end of the year and laugh at the film. So I'd like to take this time to thank each and every one of you for watching this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it on your way out. If you're a fan of this channel, make sure you're over on our social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're everywhere. So if you want to get involved with an awesome community, well, World Class Bullshitters is your awesome community, and the Fandom Menace is the greatest place to be online, so get involved. If you're a super fan of this channel, you'd like to help us out and see us grow, well, join our Patreon page. $1 a month goes a long way, but $5, which is only 17 cents a day, goes even further. At certain tiers, you get certain things. So if you join at the most basic level, you get a bonus podcast each week, which is about 40 minutes to an hour. So World Class Bullshitters After Hours is a lot of fun. But if you go up in higher levels, you get commentaries, videos, and t-shirts and more. So check it out, help the channel out. We appreciate each and every one of you out there. And before I go, I'm going to ask the same thing I always do. If you're new to this channel, welcome, thank you for watching. And if you've been here for a long time, you know what I'm about to say. Go out into the world and be excellent to each other.